Hi, welcome back to Pixie's Projects, or welcome in if you're new. Today I'll be showing how I color bubbles, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's get started. Tammy from Tammy Colors 2 asked me to do a quick video on how I color bubbles after she had seen this picture from Magical Minis by Selena Fennick. Now, in this one, the base of the bubbles is a gray marker. It's a very pale gray, but you can see the difference between the white and the gray. And then I used pencils to do the colors around it. But because Tammy and I, are doing a buddy color in this book, I'm not going to butcher the French on that, and I'm just going to say that it translates to hairballs. And we're doing this page. I thought I would do the bubbles on the page we're working on. And that means no marker base because, alas, it is double-sided. So, I'm going to do the whole thing in pencils. And we're just going to go ahead and dive in. I'm going to grab some backing paper because I push pretty hard. I pulled some Prismacolors. And I didn't really swatch these together because I'm a lazy person. And I'm going to hope to put the colors on the screen as well. But we're going to start with Cloud Blue 1023. And I'm going to use that. I'm just going to start with a tiny bubble, or a smaller bubble up here. And I'm going to use that just to put a base of color lightly. Which, if you've ever seen me color before, the fact that I'm coloring lightly is interesting. So we're just going to base that one bubble, and hopefully it's a little visible. It's very, first off, a very pale color, and then I'm not making it any less pale or making it any more vibrant. We're also going to use light green, number 920, blue slate, 1024, deco pink, 1014, and grayed lavender in 1026. The only one I'm really not sure about is the grayed lavender. It might not be purple enough for me. I'm just going to reference this picture again to show you what I do. All of these bubbles have green and blue and pink and purple all around them. You could add yellow, just basically pastel colors. So we've got our light blue bubble here, and I am just coming along the edges and throwing in some green. And again, the first round I'm going very lightly. And it doesn't matter what order you put the colors in. Do what makes you happy. I went from the green to the blue. And as you'll see, this blue is much more pigmented than that cloud blue. And I'm going to go in with this purple now because I'm curious. Yeah, that's fine. So no color change. I'm keeping these colors. And I just do the whole deal where you put the color on, but as you get to the edges and the inside, you trail off with how much pressure you're using. But I just keep moving it around. And I'm going to put a little more blue in this guy because I want to. That's why I said there's no rhyme or reason to it. Just do whatever you want. Which I know doesn't sound like anything difficult, but I think more it was just what exactly did I do to get the bubbles to look like that. And this is really it. So I've got, and sometimes I layer the colors on top of each other because I want to, but the whole bubble's been colored in. I am going to make noise because I need to get my white Prismacolor pencil. And that wasn't too bad. And of course, it's not sharp. I'm just going to take that because I didn't do a marker base and use that to smush all my pastel colors around. And I'm going to come back in with my cloud blue and go over my center and darken it up because we're done with the colors. And these aren't as bright as the other ones, but obviously you could use less muted pastels. and get more color from that, I need, there it is, my brush, so I can brush that off. And then the only other thing I do to the bubbles is I take some sort of white ink. In this instance, I'm using Winsor & Newton white ink, 974. I'm shaking it up because it's not very not very cohesive. And my tummy's growling again because I do my videos right before it's time to eat. I have not had much success doing anything over Prismacolors. So like using a jelly roll or an acrylic paint marker doesn't seem to work very well. If you watch my acrylic paint marker demo or a review on the Primrosias that I did on, well, it's technically for me today, but I did a review on those, and they do go over Prismas, but when coloring, I generally go for my standby of ink because it doesn't pick up the colors for some reason. Not a complaint. That's a happy thing. And I'm being super lazy. Normally I would put this in like a bottle cap or something and water it down to get it to the texture that I need it to be to use my dip pen, which is what I'm using. And I'm not doing that for this video. So what I am doing is just dipping my pen into the actual ink itself and dragging it around the thing, the bubble. And I keep going back to the dip to dip the ink, the pen into the ink because I don't have it at the right consistency, which is fine because it's coming out thick, which means it's covering a lot easier. But it just means my pen can't control its flow. If done correctly, the pen ink would go down the pen and I could color probably that whole bubble with one dip. And I'm going to do this again on a larger bubble to give you a better view, but I just wanted to start with something small so that you can see that it's really not a big deal or it doesn't take too much time. And then I just randomly decide to place like a light line inside, or sometimes a dot, which we'll do both. We'll give it extra to make it look more 3D. So I'm going to put my dip pen back down and close up my ink. Not bad, 7 minutes with me running my mouth and not actually getting it colored. And we're going to start on a bigger one. I'm going to pick one that doesn't have another bubble inside of it. So it looks like this guy. And the other bubbles inside it, I would just color the same way. I just don't feel like coloring around something right now. So I can just quickly get this cloud blue inside of the circle or partial circle. And I chose this instead of a gray because she's in the bath. My other bubbles were just freestanding bubbles, so I thought gray would be fine. And this is how I almost always color bubbles. Just, that was the first book. The Selena Fennick Minis was the first one I could think of that it was in, so I grabbed that. So now I've got my cloud blue down. And now I'm taking light green. Now I am just going to do the outside edge, not the parts that are attached to the other bubbles. I could, once I'm done this, the whole page, once I'm finishing up the page, decide to go back in and do around the edges of the other parts of this circle. But for right now, I think it's going to look best if I just do the parts that are the actual outsides of the circle. I'm going from the green to the purple. And I go in pretty heavy at the beginning and then taper off. And I'm also going to do the same thing going in the opposite direction towards the green. Take it in a little heavy and then taper off so that it blends. And the same coming out the other side of that purple. And you don't have to use all 4 colors. And this is the Deco Pink. You don't have to use all 4 colors while doing this. You can stop with 2 or 3, depending on the size of the bubble. you can just do one. It's better if you switch off how many colors you're using so that they look more, well, I don't know how natural it is, but more natural appearing. But yeah, so I'm just doing the pink, and I think I'm going to leave off the blue for this one. And then I would just put the blue like in this one or that one more predominantly so that it's still part of the picture and it gives me some variety. I am taking my white again and just going in and blending them together a little better. You can use your blender pen if you want, or blender pencil if you want. Just for me, this is fine. I don't care if it dulls the colors because I want them to be kind of dull anyway. And then I'm going back in with the cloud blue and amping up the color of the actual bubble and bringing it into the edges of the bubble. Like that. Dusting it off. You hear all that cracking? That is my chair repeatedly making its sounds. And I'm shaking up my ink again just to be on the safe side of things. Grabbing my dip pen and just stealing some ink from inside. And then the same thing, I'm covering, well, attempting to cover my lines. And I like my ink better. I really should have done a better job of this. You know what? I have a little thing of water here with a pipette. Let me grab some of that and grab some ink and get it inside of there. So we're watered down a little bit. Sorry for the sounds. And try again. I like using the ink better because it has a tendency to not change colors. Like sometimes when you use a Posca or a paint pen or a Jelly Roll white, the colors can change based on the colors of your pencils underneath. And that doesn't really happen with this. And like I said, it wouldn't be near as complicated as it's being right now if I wasn't ridiculous about getting it set up. I just didn't feel like it. And I really should have, because there's a ton of bubbles on this page. It's not like I was coming in to just put a little accent piece on. And I've got bubbles from my ink in my bubble. Plus a weird bit. There we go. And then again, you just find a place you want to highlight. I'll show you again on here so you can get an idea. You can go crazy and add a ton of them. You can just add one or two. This bubble's pretty big. So I'm going to do the bigger one on this, where I just kind of zigzag out and then follow the curve of the bubble on the second one. And we're going to give this one a rather big circle. And my circles are kind of squared. Get that straight. I hope all this is visible because we're dealing with very pale colors and very light bubbles and white ink. I honestly don't know how to show it any better. What I'll do is pull in a little bit so you can see them up close. I just pulled some ink off. And if you dab carefully when the ink still isn't dry, you generally won't pull off the rest of the ink. But you can do this with your acrylic paint pen, and you can do it with your Jelly Roll. Just try not to color any of the black line with your Prismacolors, and it'll be a little easier. So those are our bubbles. And like I said, I'm going to try and pull in on them so that you get a better view up close. I'm sorry for the wiggling. All right, looks like that's as low as we're going to go, so I'll come up to you. And yeah, you can see pretty good up close. There's just the white and then all the colors. And then there's that one up there. So that's it. That's how I color bubbles. I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, happy coloring. Bye.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Yay! Now make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and hit that little bell down there so you get notifications for when the next video comes up.